horses. Get rid of that conversation taking place in our ears. Keisha Clement, Andy Serling. I got it right that time, didn't I? I
Yes, you
almost said it.
did.
I
You
almost said it.
practiced,
No,
didn't you?
no, I almost
Yeah.
said it. I was a little calmer today than I was the last time you and I appeared in the show. It's an absolutely glorious Saturday here. It's supposed to be a great weekend of racing, and you and I were just talking about how excited we are for Monday's New York Showcase Day card.
It came up really, really strong. The commentator in particular, a huge field, some really good horses. And, it's funny, now I started working for NYRA in 2019, and I'm from the Northeast, but being able to be here and following regularly, you really get a chance to follow these New York breds, and they're almost like your old friends. You love seeing them. You love these days when we get to highlight the New York breds, highlight the breeders, where they've come from, the horsemen that take advantage of the New York bred program. I love it.
I couldn't agree more. And your brother-in-law, Najee Thompson, will be
Yes,
here
he's,
too.
he's, he's really a part
So
of the Clement family.
he's not
yeah.
even an unofficial member of the Clement family. I think they've adopted him. I don't know if they've told him yet. He's definitely on the meal plan, as we were saying. But no, I'm looking forward to that card as well. Some things to take care of before we head into today's card. Head over to NYRA Bets. We will give you a $25 free bet for the Belmont Stakes along with your $200 sign-up bonus. If you use the promo code Belmont25, you got about 2 weeks to do it, as the Belmont Stakes will be in 14 days, just 2 weeks from today until Belmont Stakes. Keep our fingers crossed we have weather like this for Belmont Stakes. We also have the infamous middle pick 4. That'll begin, I think, in race 4 today.
I know you're excited.
No, wait, no, it starts in race 3. Hang on. Yeah, it's no 4. Race 4 it starts. It's always whatever before the pick 6. What else? We have a $2,500 hit and split. If you play the late pick 5 and you opt in through NYRA Bets and you hit it, you will split $2,500 with the other players. And don't kid yourself. I know people have gotten the whole thing. I know people have gotten a third, a quarter, a half of it. So it's a good thing to opt in for that. Yet another reason to play through NYRA Bets. We have a cross-country pick 5. When don't we have a cross-country pick 5? Belmont and Churchill, including Churchill's Kirtana Stakes. And those races will all be on America's Day at the Races. We are on from 12:30 to 6. You'll be on the early part of the show, and you'll be reappearing later, I believe, in the day in the paddock.
I am.
All right. It's funny you mentioned the commentator, Dave Grenick from the Daily Race Forum, had said to me yesterday, they couldn't fill it last year, and this year we've got
It's
13.
amazing. I know.
Because I don't think we ever ran it last year.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever went. I could be wrong.
I don't think
I think
so.
there
I
were
don't
4 or
remember, but
something.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think it did, which is unfortunate. So it's great to see that there's a big field here. And honestly, I love commentator. Got to see him over. He's at Old Friends Cabin Creek too. Just a real New York bred star too. And I think it's fun. We get to pay tribute to him.
I used to visit him a lot at Nick Zito's barn
Yeah.
up in Saratoga. He always had that blue ball with him. He was he's probably. I'm not going to get into turf horses because Win and Four-Star Dave, Four-Star All-Star, so many good turf horses, but he's the fastest dirt horse when he was on his best
Yeah.
game. I mean, his race against St. Liam in the Whitney will forever be one of my favorite
love that.
races. I've watched that race many, many
I love
times.
that.
He was so good that day. Anyhow, race number 1. Listen, we'll show Happy Hour getting into trouble in his second to last dirt race. And Happy Bob, I'm sorry, not Happy Hour. It's Happy Hour a little earlier around here,
Obviously
apparently.
thinking of something else.
I get it. He's absolutely the horse to beat, but he also is a horse that shows how tough the game is. He's been betting every one of his starts. He's had trouble. He's run well in them. He met a tough horse the first time out, but I don't know, this drop down like this, I guess Dominic Satino sort of had enough, but he'll probably win, but I just didn't want to take him on top, and I see you didn't either.
No, I'm with you. He comes back. He's off of a layoff. He drops. He cuts back in distance, and he's a gelding. There's a lot of changes here, and he's finishing a little bit on the outside there that day. And yes, he did have some significant trouble. They tried the blinkers last time. They tried going longer. It just seems like they're still kind of searching. And for what it's worth, his first race was his best race on numbers, and then he never really kind of ran back to that. So I think it's a logical step at this point. I just didn't trust him. Oh, again, I wouldn't be surprised if he wins in here.
No,
I
he's way
thought
the worst
this
to
could
beat.
be a race for a first-time starter.
Yeah, I want to, for people that wonder, you mentioned the first race, you see that 79 buyer. Well, the second place finisher in that race lost by a nose or a head to Gunite
Yeah.
in the Amsterdam in his next start. So
Right.
that was a legitimately good horse that beat him that day. Talk about Frisky Jim, who I also picked.
Frisky Jim is a firster for Wesley Ward. The dam was pretty good. She was a multiple graded stakes place, and she's been a decent producer. 5 out of her 9 foals were winners. And, you know, you always think of Wesley Ward first-time starters as 2-year-olds, and I was kind of playing around with Formulator, and his 3-year-old first-time starters in dirt maiden claiming races. He's 5 for 13 winning and 11 for 13 in the money.
Yeah, and we'll show you the
Yeah.
general stat with his maiden
Mhm.
claiming first-time starters, and I looked that up as well. And Acacia's breaking it down even further. It's the 5 for 13. He's got a higher ROI. He wins with them. He wins in general with maiden
Yeah.
claimers, and just feels like, is Wesley really shipping this horse here? And he can't run. He's like, we could have run him. He could have found maybe a maiden claiming race either at Churchill or Ellis Park or
Right.
something.
This horse has been
So
training at Keeneland.
yeah, so he's probably shipping a live one here, so that's why I went there. Linda Rice with Talkin' Pharaoh. I'm not that horse's biggest fan, but she has exceptional numbers with her maiden claimers off the claim on the dirt, where she's 15 for 33 on the dirt overall. With sprinters, I think I've got it somewhere. She's 8 for 16 in the sprint, so
Wow.
she's 50% with a very similar ROI, I think a 251 ROI. So Linda wins those, and I just don't trust Happy Bob, and I didn't want to put him on top, much like you in here, the 2 and 6 being the likely alternatives. Race number 2. Race number 2 at 1.125 in the turf. You've got Daunt on top. I'm surprised to see Daunt back so quickly.
He is, and I kind of take that as a vote of confidence. And I wrote in my notes from May 11th that he did not look fit off the layoff, and he still actually ran a pretty good race behind Dreams of Tomorrow, who was very much the horse to beat in that field. And I thought he broke pretty well. He was kind of in a nice stalking spot. He was following Dreams of Tomorrow. Yes, he was second best, but he was off a layoff. He's not a horse that usually runs well off a layoff. He takes some time to kind of get into it. And the fact that he comes back here, again, thought it was a vote of confidence. I mean, I wonder if QF75 is going to be loose again in here. But the thing about Daunt is he doesn't need to be too far back.
Well, Q75 is the speed, but I'm not sure because Night Jumper has a lot of speed. Night Jumper's very fast, and I wouldn't understand why they would run Night Jumper here if they're not going to be aggressive with him.
They specifically took a hold with him last time, though. It was clear
But
they
went
wanted to race.
22.45
Yeah.
last time out, and I know the turf's very firm down there, but it would be sort of silly for them to just
No,
sort
I
of
agree.
allow
I
Q75.
agree.
And the problem is we look at, and I don't disagree with you about Dawn. Nice story, by the way, by Marietti in our press office about Bobby Robato. If people haven't got a chance to see it, it's on Naira.com, and it's a really nice story about a good guy and a good trainer as well. This is Dripping Gold, and this was a funny race because he had no speed, and I give Gaff Leone and Sugar a lot of credit. They went to the lead with him on that slow pace, and it ended up being just sort of a duel between the two in front and nobody else closing. The problem that I have is, first of all, I don't trust how good either one of these horses is. And I feel like QF75 could get some pressure in this race. And he's a little dressed up by the slow pace. And as an entry, particularly involving West Point, I just feel like they're going to pay so much money in here. And I did not want to take them at a likely short price.
No, that's very true. And to be fair with QF75, he ran great off the layoff last time, but Not Far Now was in that race, and they were not aggressive with him pressing, so he was alone on the lead in that spot.
It's a very funny race because it's going to come up in today's 9th race today, and it also comes up with Not Far Now tomorrow, where both those horses were chasing wide.
Right.
And they both ran
Off
just
really off the
horrendous. They
rail.
were virtually eased in that
Yeah.
race, both of them. And they're better horses than that. And it sort of struck me, did both those horses go completely off form
Yeah.
at the same time? Or is there something weird about that race, because they were both, I think, 3 and 4 wide chasing in there. And it's a very strange race. And I'm interested to see, we'll get to the 9th race today, what that horse does. And does it give some indication? Like, he runs well today. Do you think Not Far Now, who is a speed, and there's other
that
speed
fighter
tomorrow.
in the
But
win later.
as far as portfolio company, I felt like this was a race last time where Irad Ortiz, I think somebody was correcting me. Is it pronounced Irad or Irad?
Well, in Spanish, it's Irad Ortiz.
Okay, Irad. Okay, I'm not going to do the.
He
the
always says
accent.
Irad too, though.
I
It's
know,
like Javier
that's what
Castellano.
yeah.
It's Javier Castellano. Yeah.
I just felt like this is one that Irad would like to have back.
Yes.
Because he did so many things right, as he always does, and then you're trying to close on the inside with a horse like this, and he's a bit of a quirky horse to
He
begin
did not
with.
want to go up the
And he
rail
just-
like that.
yeah, and I feel like Joel Rosario has fit this horse well in the past, and I wonder if that was one of the impetuses for putting him back on him. And I'm not sure how good he is, to be honest, but I felt like his last race is not a fair indication of his because it just you don't want to try to rally up inside of horses. We'll see what happens. I mean, listen, Spades Launch, who I have fourth, he's not a winning type. It's so funny that he won that day at 9-1 because he had run nothing but races that were good enough to win. It's like
Yeah.
the day that they stopped betting him, he finally won a race, and I don't think he's impossible either. I think it's a fairly evenly matched race among a number of these
Yeah,
horses.
he's a horse that can get a little headstrong early on, so we'll see if he's a little bit more relaxed coming back now as a 5-year-old.
And he lost to Jerry the Nipper, who's returning in
Mhm.
that in a very good running of the Kingston
Yes.
on
That's a
Monday. You
competitive
were
one.
talking about where we were talking about City Man. We were talking about the two Dean Reeve horses off camera because Dakota Gold
Yeah.
ran an exceptional race
He did.
last time out down at Gulfstream Park, and I thought a horse that's always shown some ability, but a real step forward for him. I thought.
Precocious is a
in his
2-year-old, and then you wonder, did he move forward? But he did run really, really well.
Yeah, we'll see. Be an interesting race. Fun day on Monday. Hope you can come join us here on Memorial Day. Race number 3, the claiming race, another race where I think you and I agree. But let's start with Broken Spur, who's the big favorite in the Morning Lion. And I don't know about you, Acacia, but one of the reasons that I picked the first-time starter, frankly, is I don't like the others. And this horse, he's okay, but are you really confident he wants a mile on the turf?
No, I'm not.
This is synthetic, obviously.
Right. This wasn't an off the turf race down at Gulfstream, so it was on the Tapeta. Went to the lead. The winner just kind of had the better momentum closing on the outside, but this is just kind of what Broken Spur does on the turf, sprinting, going long. It's just kind of what he does no matter where he is. He was a horse last year, and obviously didn't see him last time out, but last year he was just always screaming in the paddock. He was so distracted all the time, and he was gelded before coming back in that last race. So that's the
That
only
may have
thing I
helped,
could
yeah.
think that might help him moving forward and getting back to the surface he might prefer. But he's already been exposed for 40 and wasn't able to win that day. And I don't know, he's going to be a short price. And same thing, I felt I'll take a shot with the firster.
Mentioning that he was gelded before his last race, it would be nice
on
if
the
somebody
day of
in
his
the
last
data
race.
understood that we embarrass ourselves
Right.
when we write down the date of their gelding as the same day they ran.
Right.
And I have a real problem with the gelding things in the form because they're not right 100% of the time.
No, they're not.
And given that date, I'm guessing this horse was a colt in the form and was an announced gelding late.
Yeah.
And since I've been playing Naira primarily for my entire life, one thing that Naira's always been very good at is announcing geldings. And when I was a player, all you had to do was you kept your old programs, and you could I looked up horses to see if when they came off layoffs, if they were colts or geldings before they ran, then you come and get a late gelding. And it was one of those things or a niche thing,
Yeah.
but also providing information that's right most of the time is bad information. And when I see something like that, it makes my skin crawl. That like either get it right or don't do it at all, because if people are wondering, you don't geld horses the day they race.
No, absolutely not. There's a little recovery
3
time
weeks
that's
at least,
involved
right?
in it. Yeah, for sure. And the thing is too is that it is important information, especially with a horse like this that you know
Right.
can be mentally a little bit difficult. For me, that's something that I would take note of because I feel like it's something that could really help.
And it may
him.
have improved him last time
Yeah.
because he arguably ran the best race he's run going longer. Yorkshire Prince, who justifiably is going to take some money in here. I see David has him 5-1. We'll see if that's the price. I mean, I imagine he had the 7 much shorter. I don't know what price he had him. I got to tell you something. After yesterday, I really don't like this horse at all because the horse who finished fourth in here, the Chess Spectacular, he was best in this race. He got left, he was wide the whole way, and he just barely got beaten for second. I mean, he couldn't have been worse yesterday. I bet him. Eric gave him a perfect ride. He put him on the front end. He was involved in the pace with Linda Rice's horse, who got
Yeah.
beaten a zop in there, and he just completely backed up. And I'm just kind of wondering if that's just a bad race.
Well, I think that today will tell too, because that's the only turf race you have to go on for Yorkshire Prince as well. I thought that he actually really kicked in a little bit more when Proven Hope came alongside him, and sometimes that can happen. He kind of re-rallied at that point, but
Not
he ran
enough
well.
for me.
Yeah, yes,
I
I
bet
can
him.
understand that. That's what I said. I feel like of the horses that have run in here for Yorkshire Prince, for Broken Spur, wouldn't be surprised if they're able to win. Mr. Flowers certainly doesn't look like he's the one you can, lay your hat on as far as the most trustworthy horse that does debut for a claiming tag, albeit 75,000. But I just think he might find himself in the right spot.
That's what I thought. I'll show you a stat for Chad Brown at Naira with maiden claimers in the turf. You know, people think he just drops bad horses in maiden claiming races, and that would be a misnomer. Chad Brown's first big horse was Merrim, who won the Breeders' Cup juvenile turf race that infamous Grade 1 before it was a Grade 1. She ran a maiden claiming race in her debut at Saratoga. So Chad Brown wins with these type of horses, and I feel like he's done it before. So I agree with you. The horse has enough pedigree. It's nothing exciting. And for people wondering, Mischievous Angel is scratched. I think it's a situation of there weren't enough works in the last 45 days or something. So that's why that horse was scratched. It was more of a clerical scratch than an actual, I believe. I don't believe that this horse, there was any other reason. But I'm with you on the firster. Race number 4, we agree again in race number 4 on alternate reality.
I think I'm spending too much time with you, Andy. I'm agreeing with
you.
your
You could never
selection.
spend too much time with me, Acacia, okay? Most would say I could never spend too much time with you, but we know the truth. I don't know, Acacia. I just think this horse has gotten really good.
He has. He never switched leads last time, which I certainly don't love, but he was going so well and closing on the outside that it seemed like Jackie Davis kind of asked him a few times, and then she just really worried about propelling him forward. And I like that. She left him alone when he was doing it and doing it well. And he was best in there. He's taken steady steps forward. I think they found the right spot for him. The 1-turn mile, I think, is perfect once again. And I just thought that his last race was good.
He's got a good work leading into the race as well, which I think is encouraging. I found this interesting. David made Winter's Lion the favorite here.
I'm guessing because he's running against stakes.
Yeah, I'm not knocking his line in any respect. I mean, it's normally correct, and I'm always fascinated by it because I have a terrible feeling for what price his horse is going to be, and most of the time we disagree. And what's in my mind, and virtually all the time he's correct and I'm wrong. So Winner's Lion, you've got him second, I've got him third. He's got one good race in the slop at Oaklawn in the dirt.
He does, and it was a very wet track that day. But he went to the lead, and he was going pretty comfortably, but he took some pressure, and then he just kicked away from the rest of the field. Now, is that a race that just sticks out like a sore thumb? Because immediately then they take him to the turf, and so that's kind of my question as well. The siblings were much more dirt runners.
Why did they bring this horse and start running him on the turf?
I mean, don't know.
He ran well enough to decide he was a turf horse, unfortunately, in his first start, a soft
turf.
I
guess. I
accelerate, a tactical
really
cat.
don't know what to do with him.
How often do you see tactical cat
not very often.
In the PP in the bloodlines?
And this is an Oklahoma bred too.
It's a very strange horse in this race, and he may well be favored. If David thinks he's gonna be favored, he probably will be. In Thunderian, another horse that you've got him fourth, I've got him nowhere. He's got him second choice, but I mean David Jacobson is so completely random. Though he did run okay, but Peros won his next race in the turf, and Bobby the Tank was virtually eased in his subsequent start, albeit on a sloppy track. As far as Warrior Richard, who you have third and I have second, I don't know what to do with him because he really ran last time. Now I know it was a sloppy sealed track. But he really improved last time, and I'm not convinced that he can't run well again. Rob Falcone's barn has been doing very well over the last, I'd say, close to really 2 months, month and a half. He's streaky like a lot of trainers, and it's not like his horses haven't been running well at Belmont.
No, they've continued on with the good momentum, and I thought this day, too, you could see Manny Franco with a little race riding that day. He took him off the rail in the stretch, and he kept Valenzen Day at bay that afternoon, and I thought his last 2 races were strong, especially for a horse that takes a while to break his maiden. When he can come back with another good effort after that, I always find that's encouraging because to me it's a sign that the horse is doing well. Obviously, as they win, the water gets tougher and they have to face the next level of competition. But to me, that shows that they've either kind of figured something out with the horse or the horse is just happy and doing well at that time. So you got to strike while the iron is hot with ones like that.
No, I agree, and I don't want to just chalk it up to a wet track. I think that could be a mistake. We'll see what happens in race number 4. The 6 is a speed. I just have trouble seeing him get the distance. We do need to move it along a little bit. Race number 5. I want to start race number 5 by talking about utilization rate, who you have second and I have third. I got to tell you, this horse should have won last time.
Yeah.
And maybe Chad Brown's going to say, I wish he wasn't in front. I'm sorry. The horse who beat him was wide the whole way. It was kind of a tough horse to make for Jose Cameo at a big price. I'm telling you, I got a bad taste in my mouth from this horse. I know he comes out of that Queen Picasso race, which has been a live race, but I got a bad taste in my mouth on this horse.
To be fair with this filly, last time there was a delay at the gate with another horse acting up, and she got really, really keyed up prior to that.
Okay.
So I don't know if that had something to do with it, if that affected her. But she also doesn't seem to me like she's the easiest horse to ride. Like I noted down that after the race, when Dylan Davis was trying to pull her up, like she had her mouth open. She was just really, really kind of tough to handle. And I don't know if it was something mentally before or during the race that affected her. I don't trust her in this spot, but I'd be willing to give her one more try given what happened and that maybe mentally she was a little bit tough and she's still figuring things out.
What do you like about Mirabella, who I have second?
I actually thought that she ran okay last time. She was one they spent a lot of money on as a 2-year-old at the Gulfstream sale. A daughter of Into Mischief. She worked 10-1 back as a 2-year-old last year in a sensational work, and she didn't do anything on the dirt. So they try her on the turf, which often for Todd Fletcher is not always
Right.
the best sign. But I thought that she actually was a little bit hesitant to kind of weave through up on the rail at first, but then she did, and she kicked in and was able to get third after being pretty far back. So I thought that she was one that could take a step forward. She definitely improved on the turf.
Yeah, I'll tell you something else about her. I don't like her last race, though. Get Your Kicks ran 6 buyer points worse. It's a favor the next time. I'm a little dubious of the race. She could be the speed here because
Yeah.
I don't believe they're going to send utilization
And
rate.
she broke sharply before she was taken back last time.
Yeah, she's a real threat to wire this field.
Mhm.
Doral, take a look at that horse, 2 back. You know, he got a bit of a trip last time at Keeneland. But at the end of the day, he had absolutely no horse in that race. And I'm just kind of wondering if this horse had her chances at Gulfstream against mediocre fields. And I guess the figs are fast enough that she can win here. I'm not sure she's very good.
I'm with you. And to be fair, Mademoiselle Jackie wired the field in that race we're looking at. And then last time she ran on a little tiny bit late in between horses. But the blinkers are going on. And I think that's in large part because she just has absolutely no speed. She kind of plops out of the gate a little bit, too.
Yeah, I feel she's a plotter. I'm going to bet Empathy in here. I have a contract with Empathy. I had bet her first time. Jody's Song, The Dam, was a horse that Jorge Abreu also trained, who was 2 for 2. She wasn't a killer, but she was pretty good. And I remember watching the race when they ran it, because I actually bet her that day at Churchill, and feeling like she ran a little in there, and I'm going to want to follow
her. She had
her.
a sneaky run in that
Yeah,
race.
and then I thought, sometimes you think that you bet the horse, and you tend to you confuse yourself and say it wasn't a bad pick I made. She actually ran. So I watched the race again, thinking she probably stunk, and I had deluded myself into thinking she was, but she didn't. She ran okay. This horse, she broke a half slow. Florent just took her back. She was completely out of the race in there. A little bit off the rail, and I'm not saying she ran great, but she ran, and Glorious Princess I think could be okay, the half to Harvey's Little Goyle. I have a contract with this horse. I think it's very interesting she comes here, and I'm going to take her. That's the first 5. Keisha and I will be back after a quick break.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Keisha Clement, Andy Serling. I want to thank our sponsors at Saratoga Spring Water. I knew I had something I wanted to say. I was just thrown. We got a text from one of our favorite people, actually, our friend Dennis.
Dennis, cameraman down at Gulfstream.
Yeah, Dennis is great.
Yeah. He's a great dancer. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah.
We never went out dancing, but apparently I missed out on something. Dennis, really, now I'm a little jealous. You have Vittorio on top. We'll take a look at Vittorio's race behind Charge It and talk about Vittorio you have on top. I'll tell you my reservations.
I have some reservations for this horse as well. I think that the 100 buyer speed figures by virtue of the fact that he ran behind Charge It and is going to take a lot of attention because of that. I think it's between him and Majority Partner. To me, they're the two kind of class of the field. And I do think that this is a horse, watching all of his recent races, that runs like he wants to go a little bit shorter. And that was my main feeling, especially last time out at Keeneland, going the mile and an eighth, where he was 4 to 5 that day, and he didn't break great. He was kind of hustled up. He was kind of hanging in between horses. And I think a cutback in distance is really going to do wonders for him. This is my last time with Vittorio, though, as you say, you know, with a contract. This is where I think he has to take a step forward. But to me, he's run like a horse that wants less ground.
He needs to run well here. I mean, to be fair in the Charge It race, I think Charge It just kind of Charge It obviously got a lot of physical issues, and it just feels like it's very hard for Todd to keep him kind of running in peak condition, because it's not like Todd Pletcher hasn't had a lot of success with good horses, and we know he's a good horse because we've seen him at times run exceptionally, like the Dwyer here. Even this race, he was right on top of a quick pace, and he ran early, and I thought I think a lot of us thought this is the Charger, this is his year. We expected him to be in the Met Mile as a major factor, and I'm sure he's an incredibly frustrating horse. And the fact that Clapton, who finished third, went on to do some good things, it flatters the race, and it says it's not just sort of a phony race because that horse didn't go on. Belmont is only 14% with 101 horses turning back in the dirt at Naira, but I agree with you. This horse specifically should appreciate the cutback. I just took the other horse, a majority partner. We'll take a look at his win 2 races back, and no doubt he was able to control that day to run the 101 Buyer. But I'll tell you something. I think he's better at 7 furlongs. I don't know how Call Me Harry ran last time. That'll be one of those amazing results that'll live in infamy where they overbet a ridiculous IRAD horse and they actually cashed. I mean, they overbet one yesterday to finish last that had like no chance and was 7-2, and Harry looked like the same kind of horse. He just feels to me like he's the speed, and he's very, very good. And I feel like 7 furlongs is better. They feel like the 2 horses in here. I took him, you took the other.
I think they are too. And he's in great form right now, this horse. And, you know, it's interesting. I had noted down on that day when he won, that was kind of the first day that we had the inkling that the inside was really bad. And Kendrick Carmouche seemed to be one of the first ones that started to spot it and talk about it. Because I remember, I think he spoke to Richie after that particular race, and he said, I don't want to be on the inside. That's the bad part of the racetrack. So I kept him off the rail the whole time. And I think Kendrick gets a big assist for that win that day, too. But he came back with a big effort. Almost won against Call Me Harry somehow last time out, nabbed him late.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this horse. We'll see what happens. So the Soaring Softly, the winner of the first Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf in 1999 for Jimmy Toner, lost a huge player. Love Appeals, unfortunately, not going to play. I would have sent in the replay for the other Clement horse had I known that horse wasn't going to run. Let's talk about American Apple, though, to start, a horse you and I both have second. My concern with her is the distance. Is she going to get better with an extra furlong? And does the extra furlong help both Lady Beth and Queen Picasso in here as well? So it's a twofold situation. But I'm going to tell you something. This horse ran extremely well in this race.
She's one that always seems to get ignored at the window. She's only been the favorite once in her whole career, and that was her first time on turf when trying a mile back as a 2-year-old. And of course, she won the Matron here in New York at 47-1, and she ran a huge race that day. It's not like it was a fluke. Yeah. And I thought the Mamselle behind Dance Macabre, who we know is a talented turf sprinter, has some ability, thought she ran very well that day. She is half-time multiple graded stakes winner Lady Apple, who was good going long on the dirt. So I don't know how that'll translate as far as the pedigree. It seems like she's run her best races shorter, but sometimes even for those quick sprinters, 7/8 can really be a stretch because especially here at Belmont, you've got so many horses that are also cutting back.
Isn't she also in a position, though, where she can control on the front end? Eric's just supposed to go with her. Because coming out of those fast-paced races, she's got a lot of speed. And I think today would be a mistake because if you rate her at all, you're giving the advantage to Queen Picasso and Lady Beth, who are your chief rivals. And talk about Queen Picasso.
Well, Queen Picasso, she actually broke running last time out, and then she let Soviet Excess, who was the second-place finisher, go in front of her. And Jose Ortiz kind of made a little bit of an early move on the turn to go to the attack. And I remember hearing him right after the race, and he said, no, I always had horse. I knew that she was traveling. Also, I remember being there at Gulfstream that day, and she was very, very difficult before the race. She was really tough to get the tack on. She was just a whole handful. And I remember my husband and I kind of looking at each other because there were high hopes and saying, oh no, I hope she didn't run a race, you know, back in the receiving barn. And so the fact that she was so game on the track, given her antics prior to the race, I think makes it that much more impressive. And as you said, it has been a productive race with the horses that have come out, including that second place finisher.
Right. Guys, my picks in here are 1, 3, 4, 5, please. The 2 is scratched. 1, 3, 4, 5. I think she's very dangerous. And as a daughter of Kingman, the 7 furlongs
She'd have
should
to
put her
acclaim.
perfectly. Who's
Group
acclaimed?
1 winner in Europe.
No, I oh, right. Yes, I remember that last race being annoyed about not betting her, but that's another story. I have no argument with her. I got Lady Beth on top. The horse comes out of the synthetic race we'll look at here at Gulfstream last time. I thought she ran very, very well in this race.
She did.
And I don't Chad Brown was saying something in an article, I don't know if it was with us or Dave Grenig, that he thought that while he ran her in synthetic because she had worked well at OBS on the synthetic, he feels she'll be a better turf horse. Now, I've actually never had a single conversation with Chad Brown about the horse, but the Dam was a turf horse. The second generation is European turf that was decent enough. And I like the way she ran. I think she's okay in here. And, I mean, I think both of those horses can win. It's a question to me whether you think American Apple can get the distance or you think either the 1 or 4 are going to be good enough, because without Love Appeals, I do think Quarrel's okay, but I think she and Senior Prank really have to step up. And I know Senior Prank kind of dropped back last time, no speed. She didn't do any running in that race. She just sucked up on the rail to be 4th in a blanket photo for 2nd.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of her. I do agree with Lady Beth, and just quickly to on the pedigree on the bottom side, the Dam ran on the turf in the United States, but she was very good on synthetic in Europe. So I think that was as well as the 10 flat work as a 2-year-old. And with those races coming off the turf down at Gulfstream, they're run on the Tapeta.
Was this off the turf or was this?
It was an off the turf.
It was off the turf. Okay, all right. I couldn't remember. I remember the race quite well. I just couldn't remember if it was off the turf. Race number 8. It's a little frustrating that I thought they were going to start something with a Tapeta with an X in the middle of it or something.
It is.
Is it?
It is now.
And I just didn't notice that?
Yes.
Oh, you're right. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I'm an
I
idiot.
got you.
I'm an idiot. I admit it. Race number 8. Take a look at race number 8. You've got My Friend's Beer on top, and we'll take. I hate this name. I like the horse.
Really?
I
think it's kind of funny that he's by Stay Thirsty.
Yeah, but where's the apostrophe in Friends?
I know. I'm with you.
That's my problem.
I can understand
if there's an
that.
apostrophe in Friends, I'm
agree
good.
With that. I agree
that's
with
why.
that.
That's why the name annoys
you
me.
have
That's
to
the
go
only
for
reason.
the possessive next time, friends. The thing about this horse, you gotta love, is he holds his form no matter whose barn he's in. He's remarkably consistent. Last time out, there were 2 horses that came out of that race to win in their next starts. His strides were shortening a little bit in that most recent effort, but Manny Franco had him clear, and he's just one that I think should sit a good trip from the rail with tactical speed.
He is the king of good trips. He's had 2 straight, though I don't think he's had an absolutely perfect trip 2 back, because he was attending a pace that completely evaporated.
Yeah.
He wasn't that far off of it. No argument. He's a major, major player in this race. I had to use Al Cools a little bit. This is not the rider I would have chosen to ride this horse. Was he mine? But I'm going to tell you something. This horse's race 2 back was very, very good. Then he got into a super tough spot at 6 furlongs last time. He's supposed to just go to the lead, and maybe it'll mitigate the factor a little bit if he just goes to the front with him. I ended up with Dust Devil on top, and here I just felt he's been running against better horses. He got run off his feet in that majority partner Ouster race. Ouster coming back in the commentator on Monday, where he'll be a big-time player, or at least he appears to be on paper. Obviously, you don't have a big argument against him. I thought he ran well behind No Burn, and I just thought maybe he's getting needed class relief. And I don't mind that he's dropping this because they claim him for 20. Where are they supposed to run him?
I completely agree. The last time he won was for 10,000 in January, so I think it's just a logical spot. He was a horse that was going well. They tried much tougher last time. Didn't work. You go back to where it makes sense.
David's got Glory Road as the favorite, and once again, he'll probably be right. I don't know. I thought his race 2 back would never win here when he sort of...
I thought he was fine that day.
He ran okay. I just felt like the other horses were a little bit better. We'll see what happens in race number 8. Race number 9, well, both you and I are disappointed as the barn with Mosey coming out. I was looking forward to see him because I really wanted him to win so I could make fun of Tom Amoss.
Oh.
I mean, come on. It's like my favorite
That's
pastime.
not nice.
Who said I'm nice? I'm nice with you.
Tom got him to win, yeah.
No, well, just so people wonder about that horse, and I don't like to talk about scratch horses, that horse's race that comes out of it Fairgrounds is a significantly better race than that 61
Verstappen,
buyer suggests. Yes, and Verstappen finished 3rd much later. Obviously, a stakes horse ran the Man of War. I'm going to be very interested to see how this race plays out, and we'll show Fighter in the Wind's loss to Daunt, who's very good. Now, one thing that's important to note about this race: the rail was gold this day. He never left the fence, and Daunt was wide and off the rail the whole way, and he still ran him down. So even though the margin is ahead, Daunt probably ran a good 3 to 4 lengths better than he did. Now, I'm really curious. You know, I was discussing this with David because he made him 6 to 1. Now, keep in mind he had Mosey 7 to 2, so that makes this horse around a 9 to 2 shot. David doesn't feel like this horse is going to take any money. I said, I thought he could be favored in here, and he said, well, how can they bet him? And he's probably right because he's usually right about these things. The way he ran last time. But then,
that's that weird race we were
that's what I'm talking about. That's coming up. He was 4 wide, 3 wide, out in the middle of nowhere.
I also
Same
didn't
place
think he
is
looked
not
fit
far
that
now.
day. He did not look ready off the layoff, and
Isn't he loose as can be in here? I mean, he's supposed to go. So I don't love him in here. I'm really curious what price he goes because Dave's got him the same price as Swing Low. I don't think there's any chance that he's the same price as Swing Low. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misread it. Because I'm going to tell you something. I don't like the horse you have on top. I'm not saying he can't win. I get it, this race. And by the way, we both like the 7 here, so we scratched into our picks in this race.
And when I scratched out, when Mosey scratched, I initially had 7-4-6, and I just bumped it up. I should have gone 6-4 because I do agree with you.
Nobody's
as far
keeping
as how
track
the
except for
dynamics
lunatics.
are going, except for you.
I don't picks. Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking, oh.
How dare she?
No more Acacia. She did a bad job of picking on the show.
Inflation adjusted, I had liked a little bit coming into that last race. And I wondered if it was a question of Mike Makers had a lot of success stretching horses out, and he tried to do that, and it just didn't work. Does he actually think this horse wants to go a lot longer? I don't know. I think he's a little bit of a questionable horse. He also used to have some positional speed, and then his last 2 races, he's been really far back. And he actually broke really sharply last time, and Kendrick took him back, while the other horse, Fighter in the Wind, rushed up 4 wide. So it was odd, and I don't entirely know what happened there. I'm hoping that he can be a little bit more forward than he has been recently because he used to be.
Yeah. And I think with Fighter in the Wind, he's got a more decisive rider in his back who's going to make a decision to be forward and live with that decision or lose. The Dancing with the Stars is the obviously other horse in the race.
He's prepping for his win in Saratoga
That's
this
the
summer.
thing. He wins in Saratoga. It's 2 years in a row. He's gotten good. It's not like he hasn't run okay outside of Saratoga, but he seems to get it done. And I also wonder how far he really wants to go. Is he really a horse you're dying to bet a mile 3/8? Even though he ran okay last time, but didn't run that well.
I prefer him a bit shorter.
Yeah, that's the way I felt. Race number 10 to close out the day. What do? You got a couple of Clements to deal with. You picked against both of them.
I did. I'm going to give one more shot to Photon getting back to the turf. I don't mind her on the grass. And she's a filly that, and in this race,
this is 2 back.
This is
turf.
when she was elevated to second.
Right.
Yeah. Her 2 turf races have been okay. She actually had a legitimate trip in the October 29th race when she was also really bad in the gate before the race. I've always written down that I don't mind her on the turf. I just really think she's more of a sprinter. And she's never sprinted on the turf before. So we're going to see her go 7 furlongs on the grass. Her 2 turf races were a mile and 1/16 over at Belmont at the Big A. I think this could be an interesting spot for her.
My problem with her, and I've got her third, and obviously agree she can win. Well, she's a money burner.
She is.
When she was in good form. And her last 2 races, albeit both on sloppy tracks, but don't forget, she'd run well in the slop in Saratoga.
They're both bad.
They're both terrible. So I'm kind of wondering if too little, too late with
so.
her. But I agree. I've got her in the mix somewhere. And I agree with you that Loon Cry ran well last time out in a race that came up. I was actually thinking the last time in the turf, 2 back. And it's interesting because there were 2 races that day. Now, we're going to show the other one with Snowy Evening getting a great ride from Vargas to get second in there. And also, the other Clement Strictly Taboo comes out of there. They're such different races. The Loon Cry race, while they both won the same final time, the pace was 22-1, 45-3. Whereas the other one was 21-4 and 44 and, is it 1 or 2? So it's a much faster race in this race. And I think that really helped Snowy Evening. And so while Strictly Taboo ran, worse as far as the finish, I think as an argument may have run actually better, even though I've got Loon Cry tougher. I'm just
Yeah.
not sure about 7 furlongs for this horse.
I agree with that, and I do wonder if there might just be a few better horses than those. Loon Cry last time somehow Ms. Bisbucks, who looked like a turf horse through and through, got a great trip that day, and Loon Cry just was second best in that. I thought our lone turf race was fine. The first-time starter is very intriguing with that pedigree.
Yeah, I have this one on top.
Yeah.
You know, this was a pretty good Bill Mott horse. I remembered Flip Cup. I liked her a lot. You know,
Yeah,
it's
she was
funny.
great.
You know, she never won. She was over 13, but she actually ran
Yeah.
90-plus Buyers. She ran all the turf routes, the New York bred stake races. She was a really nice. She had those yellow silks.
She only ever won on the dirt.
Yeah, she never won on the turf. Never
Yeah.
won a turf
Yeah.
race, right? She had those yellow silks. It's a barn. He runs a lot of horse. Is it Edition? What is it? Is it?
Edition Farm?
Yeah, is it them? I think
I
they have
don't
yellow
know.
silks.
She was a New York bred.
Yeah, no. I remember.
Yeah.
I could picture her.
Might have
I mean,
been.
you know, you have horses, and you think. I think of the silks. You probably think of them more physically than I do, obviously. Where I'll remember horses by their silks. There's
Yeah.
always like Latitude 40. We were talking about
Right.
that Chess Spectacular. No, that was another horse I tried. I don't think it was Chess Spectacular, but she had the red silks.
Yes,
I took
Rocktail
this
Stable and Team Penny.
This is
Black,
a-
gold panel, 2 hoops on. That was Flip Cup.
big pedigree. They paid a lot of money for this horse. I mean, I'm never going to get the right price because IRAD is aboard, but I thought this horse could be dangerous. Autumn is a horse I think that's worth talking about because Autumn was probably doing some running when was involved in that spill where Jose Lezcano got hurt at Aqueduct.
I agree. I think you have to kind of treat her as one that actually did run a little bit. Don't treat her as like a first-time starter. The fact that she was 4-1 that day, she
got
was
bet.
starting to make a little bit of a run. I agree. I think that she has every license to run a bit today.
This is a very good race. This is actually
Yeah.
one of the most interesting
It's
races
very
of the
interesting
entire day
race.
to close out the card.
Tricky.
We are done. We thank you for watching. Keisha, thank you very much.
you.
Head over to Naira Bets. Use the promo code Belmont25 or Jockey. I like that. Belmont 25 will give you a free $25 bet along with a $200 sign-up bonus. We have a, oh yeah, I know you're excited, the third pick 4, race 4 today, 2, 4, and 7 on our 10-race card. We also have a $2,500 hit and split with a late pick 5. Opt in over at Naira Bets. I'll be doing that right after the show. And you hit it through Naira Bets, and you will split with anyone else that hits it. And don't kid yourself. Could be 5 winners, and you'll get 500. There could be 2, and you'll get $1,250. So I have some friends who have made pretty good scores with those hit and splits. They all still have the money, too. Cross Country Pick 5. I'm shocked we have one of these. We so rarely do. Belmont and Churchill. And all of these races, you can bet it and watch them on America's Day at the Races from 12:30 to 6 on FS2. Acacia, you will be starting out early in the day, and then you'll be ending up in the paddock late in the day.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am, too. Anyway, a lot of fun. Lots more to happen. Johnny I up next with a reprise, the scratches and changes. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market